So I did my review of the movie, and now we have Wendell here that has it fresh.
Hey, hey.
That has it fresh in his mind. So now we're going to get Wendell's take on it. Wendell has not listened to my review, so if we do repeat stuff that I mentioned in my review, it's just because Wendell didn't listen to mine, so he could go into this fresh and have his own opinions and bring up his own thoughts and everything that might mirror mine, might not. So let's get it started, Wendell.
All right. Oh man, where to begin? This was long.
There you go. See, that's what I'm
Oh
saying.
boy.
That was funny thing. That's literally how I started.
It's so
That was the
long.
first thing I said in my review. I was like, "What a lot of movie," you know.
Like one thing I remembered was like, okay, come on, let's wrap it up. So my showing was at 1. I looked at my watch, it was 3, and I'm like, okay, come on, wrap it up. What's going on? Uh, I don't know. Bits and pieces of this movie I liked, but I felt the pacing overall was really bad.
Hmm.
Um, the two leads were okay, but it really felt like Lara Croft meets Nathan Drake.
Oh, really? Interesting take.
That's the vibe I was really getting.
Okay.
Like like highly educated British woman comes from money, meets this like kind of raggedy bum American dude, and you don't get more American than the Boston accent, to be very
That's true.
honest. So that's where my head was at, and I was like, oh man. Um, I don't know. Do I overall like this movie? I guess I put it in the same camp of Dark of the Moon, where of the whole thing of all the movies all together, like it's 1 is the top, 3 I guess, and 5 are are there together because at least the story makes sense. At least they're trying to give you more emotion, and you were getting that. I was very surprised about the beginning of the movie where it's definitely trying to like make you feel for the new character Isabella,
Hmm.
the girl that's like orphaned in this like uh, DMZ zone basically. So I thought that was really interesting. Um, I don't know, as the two new characters, Isabella and Vivian
Yes.
is her
Yeah,
name.
Vivian.
I thought they were pretty interesting and they're pretty cool. I didn't like the B plot of Vivian where her family kept telling her to get a man.
Oh, you see, yeah. Wait, wait.
That was really annoying.
Total waste. Well, there's a lot of that I found. I found that, and I mentioned this in my review, that there was
Mm,
a lot of stuff that when you watch it, you kind of go, "Oh, that's going to be a deleted scene later." Like you almost feel the deleted scene. Like I don't know,
hmm
like it's something that I'd have to like show you, and you'd be like
Yeah.
you'll watch a scene, and they're all involving Vivian, which is very funny. I think that maybe just the way Michael Bay
Well, you know
shoots.
what? You know what reminds me? You know what? How I feel about it? It's almost like they need a character with with a family that's still alive that can be awkward with them.
I guess so.
So remember with like the first set of movies, first and second probably, Sam Witwicky, his family's super awkward with him and they're very weird with him.
Heck,
Second
heck,
movie, they
even the
go to
third,
college, he's very weird
even the
and
third
awkward
one,
with them.
even the third, all
Third,
three movies, Sam's
yeah, third
parents were
one,
always this like awkward thing for him.
yeah, like they were always embarrassing him and stuff like that, and blah, blah, blah. Like, there's that thread of that super hardcore, and then like the fourth one, you get a break from that, but like um Mark Wahlberg is supposed to be the awkward parent, but he's also the hero, so you don't get those moments a lot, and you kind of understand like, yeah, he's very protective of his daughter because that's his only daughter, and plus she's dating a guy that's way older than her, so it's more understandable where he's coming from. This one was just weird. Isabel, I thought was a pretty cool character. She totally reminded me of Sari, Sumdak, and Miko.
She reminds me of a lot of times where they did this with Galaxy Force, where you have human characters that just somehow are, well, despite the fact that they're like 12,
Mm-hmm.
they are able to repair Cybertronian technology, which
Yeah.
sometimes I always kind of go,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm always like it's like, wow, like you're hacking someone's compute, this Cybertronian technology with like Linux. It's like, wow. And and again, I could understand. Okay, maybe she was, she was really in the wild out there with Canopy and Squeaks, and she really got to know their anatomy and how everything works and stuff. But at the same time, and I found there was a huge bait and switch when it came to her, though, because you saw probably Wonder Woman in theaters, right? I remember we talked about this. She had a trailer specifically made for her to be used for the Wonder Woman movie, which was the throw like a girl, I throw like a girl, I run like a girl. That was made actually very specifically for the Wonder Woman movie. To be like, and it gave you that false impression that, oh, she's going to probably be very important to the movie, where the irony is, if anything, it's Vivian who's the lead female in this movie, which is very, and I found that very, because we're introduced to this character maybe the first 20 minutes of the movie, and then she's kind of swept under the rug. It's kind of like there's that, like you said, the emotional scene with Canopy, introduction to the rest of the Autobots in the junkyard, and then she kind of just disappears. And again, the trailer kind of making you think, because the way that the editing was done with the trailer, you thought when she says, I want to stay and I want to fight them, I thought the Decepticons. It was
a big deal.
I thought it was the Decepticons she was talking about or something, but no, it's the TRF.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is like, which a lot of us didn't really know going into the movie was a thing, unless you really spoiled yourself with trailers or something.
Yeah, I try to stay away from trailers for this one.
Me too.
Even though, but still, I was just like, I want to be surprised.
Well, yeah, I avoided most trailers except for like whatever was in my face at that moment. Then I'd be like, okay, hopefully this doesn't spoil
literally
too much.
this whole movie series has been everywhere, so why not surprise me? I don't even know what you're gonna do. I did find it interesting. It did pull from bits and pieces from the lore in fiction, or just different parts of fiction. So, like I said, Isabella really reminded me of like Sari and Miko, because like there's that scene where she's with Hound and she's on the shoulder and he's just chilling out with her. He doesn't like, I don't like this girl. He's like, oh yeah, sure, stay. Get to check out the front lines with me. I was like,
it was,
okay,
that's
totally
a bulkhead
moment.
Yeah, kind of bulkhead.
That's definitely a bulkhead moment.
Yeah, excuse me, bulkhead and Miko. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of dug that. I dug I didn't mind seeing Lennox there, Colonel Lennox, Josh Duhamel back. Agent Simmons was there, but he had like a very sideline away from everybody.
I had a theory.
He literally phoned it in.
Literally, I had a theory. I had a theory that he literally filmed all his scenes in one take, in that one corner next to that phone, in one day. Like, I almost felt like they probably went to John Turturro and they were just like, you know what? We're going to just film you next to this phone, and it's going to take us like 15 minutes, and we're going to stretch it out and edit it out throughout the movie.
And what's super weird is that I want to hate that moment when he shows up and he's still kind of there, but I don't,
because he was one of the.
It's almost like oh, good, my good friend Agent Simmons is back. Oh,
yeah,
my
from
God.
the movie that we liked, exactly.
Some familiarity. I mean, like, he's just been there for mostly all of them.
Yeah, well, he's always been in all of them, but it's just that I think that we just have that memory of that character and how John Turturro just always played it over the top, and it was enjoyable. But it's so sad, just the way how it's like it's him and
Anthony Hopkins?
Topspin, the Wrecker.
Hopkins.
No, I'm saying Topspin, the Transformer with him is Topspin, and it's just kind of like, and again, I just imagine like, Bay or whoever was directing him in that scene was just going like, look, okay, you're just going to talk on this phone, read these lines, we're going to fill in, Anthony's lines later, and then just pretend you're talking to a Transformer that wants to play beach volleyball. Which one is it? It doesn't matter. We'll just find out which one is dead.
With a ball that's made of tires. Yeah. So someone's going to get wrecked. Yeah. It was either beach volleyball or it was basketball.
I think it was beach volleyball.
I couldn't tell.
I think it was beach volleyball.
I couldn't tell because they kick it around. They have one Transformer that's just there and they're kicking it around. And apparently no one messes with Cuba.
Yeah.
It's just super weird.
Well, that was another thing, too, that I found very bizarre about the movie was it made it seem like Earth was kind of in this post-apocalyptic, Transformers, they're worrying about Transformers and stuff. Like, everyone's on high alert. And then you'll have so many scenes in the movie that just seems like, well, the rest of the world seems fine. There's Formula One going on in the background on Cade's television. The rich are
Oh no, that was either that was Le Mans. That was
then
Le
Le
Mans
Mans
going
either
on.
way. Like
Yeah,
I didn't get to catch it very well, but it was just like that's going on fine. They're playing polo. The rich people in Britain or
England.
in
Yeah,
England are still playing polo like it ain't no thing. Everything's fine there. Cuba's rocking like it ain't no problem. But man, Chicago is this quarantine. Yeah,
yeah. Chicago's done.
yeah.
Like,
Which again I could
like
understand
never forget
because that's
Chicago.
a continuation from the third movie of how badly wrecked it got from Sentinel Prime and everything.
Yep, yep.
But I mean,
The
I just
space
find it
bridge.
weird that like everyone else kind of moved on. It seems like in this
Yeah, I
movie.
think I think if the fighting isn't there, then that kind of technically happens. Like if your edge neck of the woods isn't affected, then you just carry on like
I
nothing,
guess so.
until it happens.
I don't know. It was kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, yeah, I completely understand though.
But it was
Like,
kind of hard to tell like where this movie placed also in terms of a timeline because we were kind of fed in the fourth movie that it was a bit of a time jump. It's been a while since the
yeah.
last movie. That's why like in the fourth one we didn't have Josh Duhamel, we didn't have anyone returning really. Like that was a fresh
Mhm.
start. Where it's funny with this one, now we have everyone coming back except for Megan Fox and Epps. Like literally Tyrese and Megan Fox were the only two
Well,
people.
Megan Fox and what's his
And well,
name?
Shia makes a cameo. Yeah,
A very funny
yeah,
cameo. I thought it was
but
interesting.
that's just it.
So wait, so in the continuity of the movie, his family's a part of the Secret Order too, or at least his great great
That
grandfather that found the. They said explorer, right? And they said his
that
last
was one
name.
of my biggest problems is, and we had this discussion in the past where I hate how they constantly, every time a new movie comes out, they constantly go, yeah, everything that we talked about continuity wise, yeah, that doesn't make any sense now. This one now more than ever confuses the hell out of me in the big broad picture of stuff. And I mean, I'll get into it at the end, but like just
Hmm.
continue with like your stuff because there's a
Okay.
lot I want to touch on that, but I'd rather you talk
Um,
first.
no problem. I actually liked Anthony Hopkins in this
I
movie. He
thought he
looked
was
like
I thought he was the best fucking thing about the movie.
he had a blast, and he didn't have to be so serious. He could say what he wanted. He could do whatever he wanted. He got to tell the Prime Minister of England to shut up. Of England to shut up. I got some stuff to tell you. Shut up.
He was easily the without with as expected he was the best actor in the
Hmm.
movie, but I also
Yeah, yeah.
felt that he was the one that was the problem I have with these Bay movies is I feel like everyone's reading lines. I
Mm.
really like even Josh Duhamel, like people who you would think are supposed to be like these good actors. Even Tyrese, don't want to knock him, but I almost feel like they're looking off camera and they're just reading lines as they're like
Mm.
spouting them. And all the kid characters were totally doing that, and Marky Mark was totally doing that. All of them are. But then you have his character was called Hammond.
Hmm.
Here's this character, and he actually is an actor. You know what I mean? He
Yeah.
actually is
Well,
doing a very good job. And on top of that, props to Anthony for the fact that he's acting with Cogman, who probably isn't even freaking there.
no, he's probably
It's
there.
probably
I
it's probably
think.
a guy in a suit, maybe then.
I think it's a guy in a suit, but I think I'm like usually they'll do like either a stand-in for like more physical stuff, and if he has to actually play off of somebody, I think they actually probably got the actor in
Probably,
there.
but it's just it. But
You know,
again, props to him. He was easily the most enjoyable human
I was
character in the movie.
surprised. And I seriously thought that the assistant Jimmy,
Oh yeah, I want to touch.
I thought he was gonna die.
I thought he was gonna have the same.
I thought he was gonna die. I was like, oh, this is gonna be the fourth one where the funny person's gonna
Exactly. I
get it.
thought it
He's
was
gonna
the.
get. They're gonna
I
eat
was
it. A
thinking the
big one.
exact same thing because in the fourth movie they had that other obscure like.
No, he's not obscure. Like he's not that obscure now.
No, but I'm just saying like
I don't think.
like
I
like
don't
in the
think.
fourth movie you had this assistant to Cade, who was a
Yeah.
nerd who died, and it was
Oh,
just
what's
got.
his name? We know his name.
I don't know.
God.
Well, the character of Jimmy, who you're
Keep
referring
going. Keep
to in
going.
this movie now, I thought, oh man, at any point this guy's gonna get the same thing where he's just gonna get killed off just to be like a martyr to go like, well, shit's real, you know,
Yeah.
and he never really does. And here's me just kind of sitting in the movie theater going like, okay, well, if you're not going to kill him off, then what is his purpose really, aside from looking like a skinny Andre the Black Nerd? Like
So the assistant from the last movie, the actor's name is T.J. Miller. He's been in quite a. He's been in a few things. Most notably, what's it called, Silicon Valley, basically.
But it's just like I felt like there was a lot of characters in this movie, but then that's Michael Bay in general. That just if
Yeah,
they weren't in
there's a
the
lot to.
if they weren't in the movie, it wouldn't have changed a thing. And I mean that like
Oh,
seriously. Like if you literally edited them out, I almost feel like there's a lot of scenes that wouldn't even be affected by it. You know, it's just
like there's a part where Jimmy uh the assistant comes in. He's like, oh hey, I found Optimus, and they're running over the horizon at Stonehenge. And my brain was like, "Oh yeah, those guys! I forgot the two humans are still here. Oh right, those are characters. I
the
completely
13-year
forgot
old
about
kid
that."
that somehow is being brought to the front lines. You know.
Gerard Carmichael is the name of Jimmy. Is the actor's name.
Okay.
He's a comedian. He's a comedian. I think he has his own show, or if he had his own show.
I don't like again. There was too many human characters that didn't need to be there. I mean,
Hmm.
it was nice to see like General Morshower brought back this movie, but at the same time, if he didn't come back, wouldn't have really made a big deal. You know,
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
just
But I think it feels like they're really trying to tie it in back to the first few movies, first and second, I
well,
guess.
this one definitely said, "Hey, remember all those actors that we got rid of for the fourth movie? We're going to try to bring back as many as we can, I
Hmm.
guess legally." You know,
Well, I would assume Tyrese couldn't do it because of the Fast and the Furious
he actually
movies.
said he commented on that. He said that was the
Oh,
reason.
what did he say?
He said that's exactly it. He couldn't do it because
Mm.
he was working on Fast.
Say, I think they're both Paramount movies too. So just a quick correction. No, Paramount, Fast and Furious is done by Universal. My bad.
Okay.
Just a minor mistake. But oh yeah, other things. Uh, Earth is Unicron. I was like, oh, you're going with that again. That's
Well,
surprising.
see, and
That seems
I
to
would
be
have had
the canon you're
no
going with
problem with
now.
that if not for like I mean, let's put it this way. I would have no problem with that. Yeah, sure, take Prime's idea. This the TV series Transformers
Yeah,
Prime.
yeah.
That's totally fine. But my problem with that is because of established canon that has existed prior in this movie universe. And
Mm.
what I'm getting at with that is, and this is the big thing that pisses me off. The Fallen,
Yeah,
who's
exactly.
supposed to be this character that worked for Unicron. And the
Hmm.
Fallen is because he's one of the original 13.
Well, wait, hold on. Sorry, sorry. Are you talking about the Fallen within context of the movie lore,
The
the comic
the rule
books,
with
or which one are you
Transformers,
going
the
with?
rule with Transformers is all the original 13 exist
Hmm.
in all the universes.
Okay.
Because how it works is with the Covenant of Primus is the beginning is it's everyone's the same and then it fractures from there.
Yeah.
So the Fallen that we have in the movie is the original Fallen 2. Same old story with Unicron. Nothing is different there because how it works is that Unicron and Primus exist at the beginning of time and space, and then everything
Hmm.
fractures into multiverses afterwards. So
Okay.
that's the rule. That's like the rule of Transformers, and they've stayed true to that. But the movie verse, because I don't know. Again, I don't want to. I don't even think it's Michael Bay's fault. It's whoever they get. Because I always laugh, and I remember Silas laughed about this too. It's like they said, "Oh, Paramount has the Transformer writing room," and I was just like, "Oh, that's a joke." You know what I mean? It's like these
Hmm.
people don't even know what they're doing, and it's just it's been established that the Fallen. First it was like, "Oh, Megatron came to Earth for the Allspark Cube." Then it's like, no,
Hmm.
actually, Megatron came to Earth before this one got retconned. Megatron came to Earth because the Fallen, his job, what he used to do along with Jetfire, was they would go from planet to planet, sucking them dry to power up Cybertron to keep it alive.
Hmm.
And it was they were called the Star Killers or something. And that's why we had
Mm.
the one that was part of the pyramids, right? Now here's the thing:
Right.
the Fallen, who works for fucking Unicron, right, comes to Earth
Hmm.
and is going to drain Unicron, his master, to power up Cybertron. And even if and let's say he got what he wanted in like obviously he got stopped by Jetfire before, and then he gets sealed away, and then let's say he got his way and him and Megatron managed to suck Earth dry, then he's killing
Right.
his master to revive Cybertron. That's technically his mortal enemy. It
Exactly.
makes no fucking sense. Like that, so it right away takes all that established canon and sweeps it under the rug and goes, yeah, it's the same thing. Sentinel Prime. So wait, he was coming to Earth with, Megatron to take it over to then make Cybertron and Earth One and stuff and everything to help revive his own planet and make it the new Cybertron. Okay, he didn't know it was Unicron. That's fine. But then you go into the fourth movie, and it's just there's so much stuff that by it being Unicron, I don't have a problem with that. But because of the context of the continuity and what we've had to,
Of everything that was set up before.
yeah, it spits all in the face of that constantly. It's everything up to that point. It's like, ugh. And here's the thing too. I've already said before in the past on the show, everything that was done with IDW Comics just got the big middle finger, and it's like, oh, none of that matters now, right? The
Yeah, yeah.
IDW Comics touched on Unicron already. They already, I think it was Titan Comics in the UK specifically printed these stories. I'd have to look it up, but I have a faint memory of it. And they touched on the Chaos Bringer Unicron in the movie continuity. Now this comes up. All of that is bullshit. But mind you, all of that was bullshit to begin with. But now it's really bullshit. Now it's like it's.
But now keep in mind. So I'm looking here at the credits for the movie. So keep in mind it's story by and like four people wrote the
Oh
story.
god! Then
So
imagine
that's
how
like
many rewrites
that's
there
rewrite
were.
that's rewrite going through it, rewrite going through it, rewrite going through it. Then the screenplay is written by three other
Oh
people,
good
but
lord!
but it's written by not three other people, but three of those people that redid the story also wrote the
Too
screenplay.
many
So
cooks.
rent through the same three people
Too many
again.
cooks. Too many
You know, what I mean,
cooks.
it's mostly the screenplay and story written by technically four people,
It's
but
fuck.
it's still
It
too
takes
much.
something that's such an important piece of Transformers lore, and now is just gonna completely confuse everything. And that's the one thing I'll give to Anthony Hopkins. He was Mr. Exposition in this movie.
Yep,
Like
for
he
sure.
existed for that. And sometimes I
Hmm.
felt like as he was acting, he was probably going like, "What the bloody hell am I saying?" Like he was probably just like
No, he's been an actor for a very long time. I'm pretty sure he said that multiple times, and he was in Thor.
yeah, it's true.
He's in the Thor movies too. On top of that, you know.
But it's just there was so much like me sitting there just going like I wouldn't have had a problem with this if you didn't already establish so many other things when it came to the planet Earth. You know? So it's like okay,
Because I mean,
so Earth is Unicron. That's fine. I could accept that. I actually kind of dig that you have the idea with Pangea and how and everything was
yeah,
I
that's actually pretty smart. I was like,
that was
oh,
clever.
okay.
That was clever. I dug that, and how it has all the horns, and then when the continents moved, the horns spread out. Yeah, that's pretty freaking clever. I dig that. And using Stonehenge again in the original Beast Wars, Stonehenge was a Vok energon deposit. And this point,
Mm,
now it's like the central of Unicron, maybe where his Ma is. Who knows? We don't know at this point because. But the point is like I dug that, but it's just it's if you're someone that's trying to look at these movies and put a cohesive story that makes sense among the five, you're at a loss, which is such a shame because you look at even something like Star Wars, which you could hate the original trilogy all you want, but you look from 1 to 6 and they try to have a cohesive story, and that was written over a span of like 35 years.
mhm.
Like it's like they could have definitely made a plot hole here and there in between that because of the amount of time that has transpired between it. But they didn't. Where this, everything should be fresh. Everything, the writers of the originals should still be alive, that they could be like, rung up and go, hey, what was your intention when you were writing this? Or what was your. And I think that's a big problem with that, where Orsi and Kurtzman wrote the first movie. When they went into the second movie, they did a half-assed job because they wanted to just really write that good Star Trek movie.
Mhm.
So we had one movie that was written by Orsi and Kurtzman, a second movie that was written by Orsi and Kurtzman when they weren't paying attention. Then we had the
Mhm.
third movie that was written by Kruger, who up to that point only had the credits for like doing Japanese horror movie adaptations, which is just
Mhm.
like The Ring and a whole bunch of other stuff. So it's like you look at his, track record and it's like, okay, and so he clearly didn't pay attention to what Orsi and Kurtzman did. And again, if you're not in the writer's mind, you could hate on George Lucas all you want, but at least when George Lucas was writing that stuff, the only person he had to really rely on was George Lucas. You know,
Mm.
because he was the only other person that, yeah, okay, his wife had something to do with the original trilogy too, but I'm pretty sure they were all kind of on the same page when they were writing the original stuff. So you change writers, and all of a sudden, intention of story, intention of direction, intention of
Hmm.
like, it's sad. You look at, again. I hate to go back to Star Wars.
Well, I mean, like with these series of movies, I don't even think they have a
There
continuity
isn't.
person
There
at
isn't.
all. So I mean,
Especially with this
so it's kind of impossible to expect
this movie
that to
this
happen.
movie right away, because I thought, like, okay, going into Age of Extinction, because of the time jump, they're trying to separate themselves from the old movies.
Yeah,
Let's
exactly.
go in a new direction. We'll talk about the creators. There's no obligation from the old movies to talk about the creators. They were never a thing. But this
Hmm.
one starts going into stuff that then goes back to the old movies and starts mucking it up and starts
Hmm.
really making us go like, okay, I guess all of that. I almost feel it's kind of like how we had X-Men 1, 2 and 3, and then everything that happens afterwards is another continuity. So I almost feel like,
Yeah,
are they
yeah.
trying to do that without telling us that? Where it's like, yeah, you have
Hmm.
those first three movies and then pretend that the Fallen never happened, I guess, because he's too important. I don't know. It's
Probably. I
something.
don't know.
It's something. And the other thing too, that, well, let me ask you this: what were your opinions of Quintessa?
Who is that?
Thank you. The biggest problem.
I was like, what? Wait, oh, you're just adding more
Quint
stuff. Oh my
the
god.
thing that I didn't like
Who is
the
this?
thing that
Who is she? Why is she there?
the thing that I didn't
How come
like
she's just like,
about
oh, I've been here the whole time? It's like, so no one's been at Cybertron this whole time.
like, here's the thing: you present a character like Quintessa to someone like me who knows all of the lore, and then it's me piecing shit together, going, okay, you had Alpha Q from Superlink, who was this female princess Quintesson, but then she got rewrote into, the just a Quintesson character, and so maybe
Hmm.
they're pulling from that. And then you go, well, because in Transformers lore, Quintessons were at one point the creators of the Transformers in different continuities. So, but
Hmm.
that's presented to someone like me. You present
Yeah.
that to an audience that isn't supposed to know that Gwen Stacy dies. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like you
exactly.
present it to that audience that doesn't know the established fiction, and I would, because I watch it having that in mind and going like, oh my god, anyone that watched this movie would have been like, who's this bitch? And then she's just as gone as quick as she came. And the worst part is they never explain really who she is. We know
Hmm.
she's the
Like
creator.
most of the movies, I felt
Well, but this one especially, it's
like in like I mean in the sense of was it Dark? Was no, I think it was Revenge of the Fallen, and they go, or Dark of the Moon, and they go back to the Decepticons base, and there's like babies. There's like, oh,
and
they,
the fallen all tied up, just kind of like going like, I need one.
if we don't get enough energon, our babies will die. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
oh
who
yeah,
are these
the
babies?
protoforms will die because they're not getting enough energon, and the fallen's all tied up. Apparently, he's been tied up all this time, and with the last of the
It's like, who
primes.
and what are the protoforms? How come we've never seen them before? That seems like a noble cause. Give them energy to live, because they're basically babies, right? I'm just like, what is going? So anywho,
But that's the
uh,
thing I didn't like, is that this was
ugh.
a character that was thrown at us. We're told, okay, it's the creator. No explanation.
We're told at the end of four he's going to meet the creator. We meet the creator now, and it's
He
like,
meets the
wait, the
creator,
creator
and
was just chilling
and
out at
there's
Cybertron the whole time.
here's a movie where there's all this exposition, and here's the one time that they choose not to explain anything. She's there. She's always been there. Easily accessible. Optimus Prime
Yeah.
literally was like a frozen husk, bangs into Cybertron, luckily. I don't know how the hell that
Hmm.
happened. Out of all of space, he manages to somehow, in stasis lock, end up on Cybertron.
Okay, I was just having a conversation about that part specifically with a friend. He's like, why is he frozen if he's going through? If he leaves Earth and he flies to Cybertron, why is he frozen as he gets to Cybertron? Even just getting on it like on purpose. How is that shot even possible? And I was like, well, actually, how is Optimus Prime better eat like able to fly at the speed of light to get there and back? You know, like if he went to Cybertron and you talk about the speed of light as time, when he gets there, all the crap that was going on Earth would have been like everyone should have been dead by that
Oh,
point.
totally. And
You know what
well,
I mean?
and not
Yeah, like okay, like think about it this way. Think about it this way. In Aliens, the second Aliens movie, there's a scene. It's very quick, but if you're paying attention, um, they pull Ripley out of stasis sleep,
and
and
all
she's
that
like,
time
"Oh,
passed
what?"
exactly.
And all that time passed. Like, what happened to my daughter? Oh, well, she lived. She had a full life. She had a granddaughter, and I think you outlived your daughter and your
Yeah, she
granddaughter.
passed
The
away, and
end.
yeah, and then
So technically, if he went and came back to Cybertron, then no one would be at
well,
Earth.
not to mention, and it's funny that you mentioned this because like, I'd hate to go back to the other movies because there's no fucking continuity. But the one thing that
Hmm.
kills me is in like, and this is when keep in mind when the first two movies existed and going into the third one, they still kind of cared about IDW Comics doing the supplemental material to explain stuff.
Hmm.
But when they had those original movies, there was this explanation of, well, on Cybertron, Megatron tried to get the cube. He broke through the guards of Bumblebee and Cliffjumper. That's why Bumblebee has the broken voice box because of Megatron. They
Yeah.
shot it into space. Megatron went after it. And as
Hmm.
Megatron's going after it, again, all that traveling to then get to Earth, all that time passed. And then
Yeah.
Optimus following after him. Again, Megatron crashed on Earth. God, when was the Sector 7? I think it got to be at least like, established America at that point. I think it was like the
Mm,
1700s or something. But
yeah, because at the was it Wiki's great whatever grandfather found
well, there you
him,
go. So
and he
so then
imprinted in Antarctica,
and then
basically
all that
frozen in
time
Antarctica.
passes, and then while all that time is passing, you had Bumblebee, who now we only learn now in this movie, we're explained that he's been on Earth all this time. That means,
Yeah.
but see, that means then the time between when Bumblebee, see again, assuming that these comic books mean anything anymore, assuming that Bumblebee having his voice box broken by Megatron back on Cybertron means anything anymore.
Hmm.
Um, there was all that travel distance. The second thing that, again, assuming these people watching the movie remember anything, is the original established concept was in the first two movies, Cybertronians had to have a protoform entry form to travel in space. They
Yeah.
didn't have ships. There was no ships. That
Hmm.
was the original explanation. They became these protoform forms, which were kind of like meteorites. They made toys of them that explained
Yeah.
that's how they go from planet to planet. That's how, and I would accept that. That's how they don't get frozen, right? And how they're
Yeah.
able to move so fast and everything. Then with the third movie, oh yeah, there's the Ark, there's ships, that's how they move around, blah blah blah. And now with this movie, now Optimus is again from the last movie, he just his rocket boots into space.
He's Poochie.
Yeah, he was Poochie, he went into
He's
space.
Poochie. He had to go back to his home planet and died along the way.
Exactly.
The
So,
end.
well, yeah, literally. So he gets stuck in stasis lock. So now he's not even on a trajectory anymore to Cybertron. He's frozen, floating. God knows how long that took. But let me tell you something. Probably didn't take that long because Josh Duhamel and John Turturro and all of them, they only look like they maybe aged 5, 10 years since the last movie.
Well, Dumel
A little bit of gray.
has white hair on the sides of his
Yeah.
head, and then Totoro, Agent Simmons doesn't look too bad.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. So it's like
He hasn't aged a day,
So
and he's supposed to be older
and
than him,
Morshower didn't look like he
probably.
aged a day either, but he's bald, so it didn't make a difference. But the point is it so you kind of go, okay, so he made it to Cybertron. He luckily crashed on it, where he could have just totally just
Mhm.
like got sucked into Saturn's,
I'm
Saturn's.
just to let you know though, you technically shouldn't.
I'm trying to look
Like
for.
I'm not saying continuity should just be like, yeah, I'll sweep it underneath the rug for Transformers the movies, but I mean, remember the end of the first movie, Bumblebee's voice box is
Oh
fixed.
yeah, totally.
Beginning of the second movie, oh, sorry, your voice box didn't really work anymore.
Yeah, he was like, oh, he
Bumblebee.
was just
Oops.
playing it up or something. It's like because they really liked the gimmick and stuff. No, but I can understand that. Oh, like the audience is so used to a Bumblebee that doesn't talk, we want to play that up more. That's fine. That's fine if you want to like ignore that one
I
little
was
tidbit.
I was kind of happy that he finally talked.
Well,
Hopefully that sticks.
it-
Hopefully it
you have to
and
understand,
not in a robot woman's voice.
but you have to understand it. At that point, also, we were going into that 2007 movie, always used to a Bumblebee that spoke, And then in
Yeah,
2008 and
because he was
2009,
the
we had Bumper Robinson playing Bumblebee in animated.
yeah,
So we were
but
also presented with a Bumblebee of the new generation that spoke. So we were going into this movie going, well, I hope we're going to get a Bumblebee that speaks, and well, we didn't. You know, we
well, because Bumblebee is always the first touch point. Well, I mean, not always, but I mean, G1 Bumblebee was, and so was this one. He's always the touch point of any new human character. So Spike meets Bumblebee. That's always a big thing. They talk, they get along. He's almost the size of a human, so he kind of digs them. You know what I mean? Like he's always that connection character for humans, basically. Like specifically Bumblebee. At least that's what I remember, unless I'm
no,
wrong.
well it was him and Hound in my opinion in the original
Mm.
'84 cartoon season one. It was those were kind of
Hmm.
the first two that really made the connection with the human characters on a communicative level and relation
Yeah.
level. But it's just the thing that just bothers me is so much stuff is presented to an audience. Now, to be fair, and it's no offense to people who did enjoy this movie, but I feel like you got to be fucking stupid to enjoy this movie because the sad thing is I was sitting in a theater and I chose me personally I chose to only be with like a small group of people, which in all honesty, like if I had to count how many people were in that entire theater, 14. I'm not even joking.
Mm. Well, you went early in the
Oh
morning,
yeah,
no?
I went early, made sure that I was in an empty theater. But
Mm.
those 14 that were there laughed at every joke that Michael Bay expected you to laugh at. And it was just me going
I
like, man, like
I think in my theater there was one guy that really cracked up at Jimmy, the assistant. Like when he was doing his thing, like there was one guy really cracking up. And granted, I did too because his reactions were genuine. You get hit with a beanbag at full force, you think you're gonna die. I mean, I don't blame him for
I
that.
remember only one scene really laughing really hard and like actually like a genuine like gut laugh. And it was in all honesty the Transformer that I enjoyed out of the entire movie.
Mm.
To me he was the breakout character, and it's not Hot Rod. Um, it was Cogman. There
Yeah.
was this great scene where Cogman uh, torpedoes himself out of the submarine and then comes back with the two fish.
Oh yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. It made me laugh. Just the way, because again,
Well, I don't know. Did he torpedo out? I think he just looked like
it looked like he
he
torpedoed
just
out.
he like he. Okay, okay, I guess so.
Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But he just like he
He
shot.
came back in and he had two
Yeah,
fish,
no,
and
it
it was
was,
like, oh, he's gonna hook him
and
up.
just the way he acted, where he just looked at the fish, slammed them down. Just I don't know.
Yeah, and gave him a good kick, like
Yeah,
ah.
I really
Um,
liked that character in this movie.
yeah, I liked him a lot. So the reason I was taking a little bit of time, Daniel, to write something down is that the actor that plays Cogman is Jim Carter,
Okay,
and the reason that's a big deal is because he plays the head butler in Downton Abbey.
okay,
So that's what. So it's like really like okay, we need you to be this. I haven't really watched the show, but I'm pretty sure it's like we need you to be this lovable character, but go up to like 11
well,
with
and
him.
and
Like go above and
I
beyond. You're a
almost
robot.
I almost feel
You.
like the primary reason I said this in my review too was his success, and the reason why I liked him so much came from probably the same reason why I liked Wheelie in the second movie, even though the second movie was
Mm,
shit.
yeah.
Is because those Transformer characters that are small or human sized, because they're
Hmm.
small or human sized, they're the ones that are on screen interacting with the human characters the most. They're the ones that
Yeah.
get the most
Exactly.
characterization. And Cogman, more than anything, was interacting with everybody.
Yeah.
And like
Exactly.
and that made it so enjoyable that wow, finally here's a Transformer character that's actually, because the sad thing is with all these Bay movies, and I always say go back and watch them, every interaction with a human to a transformer is always like you'll have like a hound say one line, and then
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
walks away. Like they're almost like they
Yeah.
don't want them to interact. Like Count will say, "Hey, sweetie, you better cool off," and then turns his back and walks away. And then another character like Drift will go like, "You must have honor," turns around, walks away. It's almost like they don't want to have to record these scenes where they have back and forths, where they have
Yeah.
characterization. They just kind of want to go, "Hey, he's going to have one line, and he's going to have one line, and that's it." And I hated something like that. And same thing, even when they put the Transformers together, where it's only them in a shot and it's two CG models just
Mm-hmm.
communicating, it'll be like one liner insult to one liner insult to each other. And
Yeah.
that's it. And it'll just be something quick where it's almost like it doesn't even establish anything. Here's Cogman that
I think.
because
Go on, finish up.
I was just going to say, because this movie is so human driven, like all of them are, because Cogman is forced into this situation that he's interacting with the humans, lucky for him, surprise in disguise, he gets to have all these great scenes as a result,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like tons of them.
And definitely, he was really good. I was just super surprised by that. He was like off the wall. He has his own
Yeah, he has like
issues.
anger
He
issues.
comes in. He comes in. He has anger issues, but then he comes in to like really drum up a moment by actually playing the organ and singing and stuff. And I was like, dude, calm it down. And
Yeah, he's
it's
like
like,
breaking the
oh,
fourth wall practically.
yeah, exactly. So that just surprised me. So I mean, I felt the movie was funny, but it was too much funny. Like
Well,
make the
there
like
was too
again
much
with
of
it
Michael
also
Bay's
it goes.
humor, which
Hmm.
unfortunately, what he finds funny is
They had one fart joke.
what was that?
Hound comes back to the junkyard and he farts and he sets off all those
Oh
bombs behind him.
yeah.
They had a fart
Well,
joke. I'll give them
it
that.
has to be there. It has to be there.
Hmm.
Same thing. Like there always has to be a sex joke. There always like there was that whole scene where it sounds like Cade and Vivian are having sex, and it's just you
Hmm.
have all the old British ladies just like listening.
Yeah, and they're being very nosy
Yeah,
and everything.
and it's
Oh, also, with with Isabella jumping into the transport ship, and he's like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "But we're family." He's like, "You shouldn't even be here." She's like, "I think I made a big mistake." Like she has instant regret. Like that again reminds me of Namiko, where she Miko,
Miko.
where she just Miko, where she just I'm coming along. And you know what also reminded me of Spritle and Jim Jim. Like seriously, they don't need to be
You don't
there,
need to be in
but
the
they're
trunk
there
of the Mach
anyway.
5, and yet here you are.
Exactly. They just don't need to be there, but they're there
Well,
anyway.
and there was so much of that where, and the biggest complaint that I have about the movie is that at the end of the day, you had Vivian, who's like the chosen one of the Cybertronian staff, and
Hmm.
then Cade, who's the last knight of Cybertron with Excalibur. And I'm going
Right.
like, and I'm literally like, I had like my hands on my head going like, oh man, two of the most important characters in this movie of all of Cybertronian lore, and they're human characters. And that blew my mind. It was just like literally, it's like the last night is Cade, the chosen one to wield, and the only one who could wield the Cybertronian staff of the knights is a human female character. And it's like, why
Hmm.
are human characters of any importance? They should like it wouldn't have been great. And not to mention, if this movie ultimately in the end is a guise just to sell toys, which is what
Hmm.
Transformers for the longest time has been something they've been accused of. Oh, they're only doing this to sell toys. Then why not take any of the character toys that you have introduced and make them the last night? And then
True.
give them a retail boost, If and I'm not
Hmm.
saying use Hot Rod to make him the last night. That's not even me saying that. Drag
And even when they do try to put humans into the figures, it's like,
Oh, it's a
it's
no.
not even
Yeah, no one cares. The human
like
the
the human alliance
the
stuff.
Human
Like some
Alliance
some
line
of them are
didn't do
good,
well.
but
They tried to do an entire Human Alliance line for Dark of the Moon. It was on clearance. They realized no one wants that, you know.
it's so
But
bad.
that's
It's
just
sad.
just it. Like they could have easily like looked at the fiction and go, you know what? Maybe we'll make Bumblebee the last night, and then we'll sell a Bumblebee toy that comes with that,
Sword or something.
Arthurian sword of Excalibur or something. But no, they
Mm,
didn't go that route, and it's just because and the sad thing is we're probably, I could be wrong, when this recording hits, but we're probably never going to get a Cade toy. So then why put
probably,
all
yeah.
this investment, and that's another thing too. Think about the future. Hasbro and Paramount, why put all that investment important into an actor that might ask for more money or whatever when you could put it into a character that's going to constantly be there regardless, a CG model? It doesn't, at the end of the day, you'll always have Bumblebee. You'll always have him. So why take away his importance and put it into human actors that, for all you know, will probably not return? You'll have like a look at,
Because I thought they were kind of building up Isabella, the girl,
which they did.
to be like maybe the next Cade for the next movie. Like they'll fast forward a few years or something. I don't know, but I have no idea what they're planning on doing.
Well,
Um,
my theory, and it comes from, and again, it's only just a theory, but is that another part of there's two parts of the movie that I actually enjoyed that were segmented parts. Was most of the Arthurian stuff at the beginning I enjoyed, mostly because I thought even those actors were better than what we got from the rest of the movie. I wasn't crazy about Merlin.
well, because they were in another movie. You do realize?
Yeah,
that.
that's what we were watching.
They were in a completely different movie that was Transformers.
Yeah, but the thing is with the exception of Merlin, because I thought a lot of the Merlin scenes were kind of stupid, because it was once again Michael Bay directing that scene, going like, okay, you're gonna drink the bottle, and we're gonna hard cam on that for like a good 15 seconds, and then you're gonna do another scene, and then we're gonna do a quick jump cut where you go to drink again, because haha, you're drinking, right?
Yeah, you're a drunkard. That's all you do.
You know, just in case people didn't get it the first time. But a majority of it I really enjoyed. I liked the idea of Cybertronians and King Arthur and stuff like that. Two things I really enjoy: the fiction, like separated from Transformer. I enjoy Arthurian legends and stuff like that. I really like King Arthur and stuff. People who follow me on Twitter know I'm a big fan of King Arthur and the Knights of Justice.
You missed out on the new movie, man. That new movie could have used your money and your help.
I know. I would have been like, let me tell you what we need to do.
But that was the other thing.
We need to have a Black Lancelot.
We actually, one thing I was surprised about, we actually got combiners.
Well,
that weren't ridiculously huge and couldn't really be a part of the fight.
Let me just finish that thought, and then we'll get to that. And
what happened to the railgun? Anywho, sorry,
yeah, that
never
too.
mind. Continuity. Deus Ex railgun.
That took out Giant.
But that was another thing I kind of liked, was the 12 Knight combiner and then the bad guy Knight combiner. But I didn't like how easily Optimus just took out the bad guy combiner so easily.
I'll cover your thing before I get back to mine. The one with the 12 Knight combiner, I really dug that. That's the toy Dragon Storm that actually is just going to be two Transformers that combine to make the three-headed dragon. But the point is that he existed. It was kind of cool. I dug him. I thought it was really cool. And in the context of that scene, of that comparted scene of that movie, I enjoyed it. If the whole movie was honestly just that, I probably would have enjoyed it more. Imagine if the whole movie was just Transformers and King Arthur's Knight's Court, and making Transformer stuff related to what exists in Arthurian legend, probably would have been a lot more cool. You know, having like ballisticas and catapults that turned into Transformers.
Yeah.
That probably would have been cool. But the other part that I enjoyed, and it was a small scene, but I get a feeling it's almost kind of a preview of what we're going to get with the Bumblebee spinoff, World War II Bumblebee. And it actually, because when we first were told we're getting a Bumblebee spin-off movie, the first reaction everyone had is, oh my god, we're going to get a Bumblebee movie. And the reaction that people had was, it's going to be a Bumblebee-only movie adventure. Now I look at this Bumblebee, like the scene that they had where they're fighting the Nazis, and it's him, Hot Rod, and some other guys, you know, which were not shown. Like Hot Rod had a new form where he was kind of like an armored tank. You had a Bumblebee that was clearly like a German, you know, like one of Hitler's cars, kind of one of those German, probably, I wouldn't say a Mercedes.
Volkswagens?
I don't think it was a Volkswagen. I think it was a Mercedes of some kind, because Volkswagen came much later, and the design was not one of those. But the point is, and that's the one thing I could be an expertise with, that is the German vehicles, because I work in that. But it's just, it got to that point where it was like, oh wow, even this period piece stuff that's going on here with Bumblebee and the Nazis and everything, I kind of really even dig that, because it shows me, hey, maybe the Bumblebee movie, what it'll be instead is it'll be like Wonder Woman, where the Wonder Woman movie,
or Captain America.
Well, no, but more so Wonder Woman, in the sense that Wonder Woman starts as a sequel to Batman versus Superman, and then it becomes a prequel explaining what happened in the past, where you could start it as a sequel to Transformers 5 The Last Night, but then Bumblebee
Hmm.
remembers the old days, and then it becomes this entire period piece of Bumblebee, Hot Rod, Cogman. Even since he was so enjoyable, I'd love him to come back. And it looks, the way he was presented was he was a character that went through time with everyone else.
Yeah,
So
exactly. In real time. In real time. On
he
top of
would be
that.
great to have as the human size, because if they obviously they're probably going to introduce human sized characters for this movie too, but he'd be one of those great additions to just carry it along. Also, it'll literally be Transformers Robots in Disguise 2.0, where Bumblebee
Mm.
was the leader and focus of that TV series until Optimus came back later in the season. But it'll be the same thing, where it won't be so much a Bumblebee movie, it'll just be an Optimus Prime-less movie that's
Yeah.
a Bumblebee adventure that features other Transformers that hopefully could get fleshed out. And if it's a period piece, I'm so behind that, because again, like you mentioned, I loved Captain America, I loved the Rocketeer, and I loved this scene even with the Arthurian characters and all of that. That would be so great. That would be so great, like, because it would be so different. It would be fun, because now we'd be seeing stuff to be like, oh man, wouldn't that be great to see, like, Transformers that turn into all these World War II kind of stuff. And then,
Yeah.
and if Michael Bay or whoever the director is wants to be stupid and go, hey, did you know that the reason why the Red Baron was such a badass pilot, he was
Because it
Cybertronian,
was a
because he was a
transformer.
yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? But you know what? In all honesty, it would be fun. That would be a little
Yeah.
more fun, and because it's the same thing. When I watched that first 15 minutes of this movie, and it was all the King Arthur stuff, I was like, "Hey, I think I'm actually having a good time here." Until it went to the actual timeline, and then it all just went to poop. It all just went to shit like so quickly. But that's what I honest and recently, and I'll give a shout out to Pia. Pia recently posted. There's rumors now that for the Bumblebee spin-off, he might be turning into a Volkswagen. And then I right away messaged him. That right away goes into my theory that if they go to
Hmm.
Germany and do this World War II piece, Bumblebee could be a Volkswagen. You
Yep.
know, that would be like that. It goes right into it. That would be perfect. But that's just me. Continue what you were going to say though.
Stuff that I thought was interesting and weird. Most of the bad guys that we're not gonna get,
Oh
that
my
aren't
god.
gonna come back, all get title
Oh,
cards.
thank you. Oh my god.
Okay, so and also you didn't see it, but that's that happens in Suicide Squad.
Someone mentioned.
Everyone gets a title screen kind of thing, like this character, boom,
I
and then they give you like stats on the
That was
side
the
and
funny
stuff.
thing, because
So like it seems like this movie was trying to ape some of that, and they thought, oh, well, people like title screens, and part of me was like, that's stupid. Other part of me was like, oh, I can't even understand what Megatron's saying. Hell yeah, give me some title
well, here's the
screens
thing.
so I could know these
When
characters'
I
names.
mentioned that in my review, and someone commented saying like, I think they were trying to parody Suicide Squad, and I was going like, oh, I didn't see that one because everyone was just telling me how freaking horrible it is.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that killed me about that was, here's Megatron naming off these guys, and they're getting these title cards. We get Mohawk, Nitro Zeus. Like, they're showing the names. They're
Yeah,
establishing. Like, it's like, boom, there's the name on the screen. Remember this guy. He's really important. And then a little bit of personality of his 2-3 lines that he gets on the screen before they move on.
exactly.
And then literally you could time it. 15 minutes later, 3 of the 5 are killed off.
Yeah.
Mohawk is killed off. Onslaught.
Mohawk gets killed off the worst way because everyone left and he didn't realize they left, and he's wandering in like an underground thing and just gets murked by.
Well, that's just it. And so
Bumblebee.
here's me going, why would you go through all this time and effort to advertise these characters and make the audience know the name only to kill them off? And then you could counter argument saying, "Oh, well, maybe it's for the toys." Here's another thing. 3 of those 5 guys don't have toys. So like Mohawk doesn't have no toy, so why even give him the screen time to put him on the screen? If it was for parody, to parody Suicide Squad, then I get it. But then that is completely lost on everyone who didn't see that. And then if that wasn't parody, then why
And
did
also sometimes movies don't work that fast, but
And
who
on top of
knows?
that, if it wasn't parody, why didn't they do that with the Autobots that they were introducing? Why didn't we get an
Hmm.
epic scene with Cogman driving his European car, and then boom, Cogman, boom, Hot Rod? It's weird that they used it just for the Decepticons, only for them to get killed almost instantly. With the only two that really made it to the end of the movie were Nitro Zeus and Barricade, and then Nitro Zeus gets killed off by Bumblebee, and all that's left
Oh
is
yeah.
Barricade and Megatron again. So the two characters that didn't get title cards were the only ones that survived. So why did you do that? Is this like a big in joke? Is it like something that like the
Hmm.
writers were going, we're going to get everyone invested and then like kill them off super quick so that
Yeah,
like it's
exactly.
almost like it's become a parody of itself where it's just like it doesn't matter anymore. I mean,
Oh
not and
man.
Starscream got a little cameo too with his head,
Yeah, which I was surprised about. I was like, oh,
and then
okay.
Megatron did his
Okay,
little
okay, so he's officially dead. He ain't
his
coming back. All right.
Shakespearean Hamlet Horatio holding of the skull. You know,
Yeah.
I barely knew
Like
you.
I was surprised by that. I was like, oh, okay, so he's officially dead. He's not coming back. But when does he even get the time to be treacherous to Megatron?
Well, that's the sad
Uh,
thing too.
how
Is
does that even work? How come Megatron has a new body even though his new one in 4 didn't really get
and it's a sad
destroyed?
and the sad thing is I want you now to tell me the personalities of the five Decepticons that were introduced.
Black guy, British
Exactly. Black guy with
guy,
chains, really
black guy, British guy,
crazy guy who's like two.
guy that was like, this door's too small. How did they get him in there in the first place if the door's too small?
You know, like so, like why even bother with these characters if you're not even going to give them personalities and all this
Yeah.
investment? It was so sad when I saw that. I was just like, what are they trying to do
What
here?
a
Is
waste. I was like, they just wrecked a bunch of them. Like, I thought they were going to come back at the end and be in the big fight, and that's when they're going to. Nope.
nope, no,
Just
just
immediately right
totally
after.
just like they got bulldozed over. Even Megatron, he kind of got this like Rodimus to Galvatron exit, where Rodimus just kind of like gets the Matrix in the '86 movie and throws Galvatron out of Unicron's side. What
Oh,
happens
yeah, yeah,
here?
yeah.
Optimus just kind of like
Megatron,
fucking
sorry,
power boots
Optimus,
him
like,
out of the side of the
yeah, he mule kicks him. Like, he gives him, like, a nice big side, like,
and
bah,
then
kick,
and then
and
he
he just
goes
goes flying out.
into the ether, not to be seen until the next movie with probably a new body yet again. Which another thing I
Yeah.
just wanted to touch on quickly: how come he was Galvatron in Age of Extinction and now he's back to Megatron again? He didn't want to keep that name. I don't know. Like it.
No, something happens and that happens to him at the end. He's like, oh, like, he's fighting and he's constantly changing these cars into his like minions, and they go and fight the Autobots. And then towards the end, he's like, "Oh, I'll get you,
I'll
Prime,
get
next
you,
time."
Gadget.
And he,
Which again,
yeah, and he scurries off. That's what happens at the end of the fourth one. He just kind of scurries
but
off. It's, "Oh, I'll get you."
I
It's
found
like,
it
but you
weird how
didn't
he
do
wasn't still
anything.
called Galvatron. I understand you could change the design. You got to sell toys.
No, but I remember they said they were trying to recreate Optimus Prime, but for some reason the code kept rewriting it to Megatron on purpose or something like that. Then he calls himself Galvatron, but I don't know. Like, trying to make sense of the movie
No, I
continuity is
know,
just
but that's
like,
just it. There seems to just be no flow to it, and it's a shame. And then it goes
yeah,
back to just again with Quintessa, where it's just like if you're not someone like me who has that,
who's trying to
that
piece together anything from 30 years of continuity, 30 years of lore and different TV shows, different comic books. It's just like, who's this?
thousands of
Really?
literally, and I'm not even joking, like thousands of episodes up to this point. We have like over 1,000 episodes of Transformer fiction, thousands of comic books, video games, all kinds of stuff to pull from. And they didn't even bother to give us a little exposition for new viewers of who Quintessa is. We're just told she's the
Yeah.
creator, and then she's just as
She had
easily
12
just.
knights, and they all said, "Nah, she's lying. She's
Well,
evil,"
that's
and they just left.
that's
Left
the
with her
thing too.
staff.
It started creating this like shattered glass kind of thing where it's like, so wait, is Cybertron the bad guy and Unicron's
Yeah.
the good guy? Because Quintessa is trying to destroy Unicron, and the humans are trying to save Earth that is Unicron, but is Unicron the bad guy and Quintessa, which in turn is Cybertron, which in turn is or is not Primus is the bad guy. Like, it was just, but none of that is ever covered on. Now, maybe, okay, yeah, maybe they're saving it for another movie, but the next movie is a Bumblebee movie, so we're not going to be touching on that anytime soon. Unless
And
they like sprinkle some of that in the Bumblebee movie, but I really don't
which they
think they're
probably won't.
going to. I think they're just kind of going to go. It's kind of like saying like, oh, we're going to get the continuation of our Avengers movie story through the next Thor movie. We don't really. We kind of get a Thor movie that only sprinkles a little bit maybe in the after the end credits. So
I think one of the few movies that actually kind of continued the Avengers story a little bit
Civil
was
War.
Iron Man 3, where Tony's dealing with his PTSD
Oh,
basically
okay.
after that. So I mean, that's one thing I liked about it. Is like, yeah, there was a consequence of Avengers, and he's feeling it in Iron Man 3. He's like broken.
But
He's like,
going back to
I
this,
almost died. I almost died from a nuke that I had to carry on my back
but going back to this though, like
on
it's
the other side of the
you
universe.
have now, like, it looks like Quintessa was destroyed, but she kind of just disappears like turning off a light switch, and because she
Yep.
gets hit by Bumblebee by a blast, and then she disappears. It's not
hmm
established that she's killed. It's like turning off a light switch. She just boop, okay, she's gone.
Did you say towards the end of the movie?
Yeah, well, that's just it. She appears in the like mid to after credit thing, where
Yeah.
it's like, oh, hey, she has a human form now, and she's going to help this scientist destroy Unicron. Okay, really?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. Like, it was so bizarre, that kind of thing, and the choice of it really shows that multiple people just wrote this and they were just throwing shit together. It really does. It's such a shame, because it's so easy, in my opinion. Maybe it's just me, but I feel it's so easy to write Transformers, especially because there's so much stuff already written for you by intelligent people like Simon Furman that have established. It's like a cheat sheet. You could just use what Simon did and then build around that. You have this entire world that you could build around, but instead what's going on is it's like, okay, we're going to take the concept of Unicron, put it in in a blender, and then scoop out some of what we put in a blender and then slap it onto the Autobot side of it. But wouldn't
Yeah,
that
pretty
wouldn't that
much.
not make sense? Yeah, of course it doesn't make sense, but we're also going to have three different writers that weren't informed that we did that, which is
And one thing I thought was pretty funny was there was a minor continuity error. So Isabella fixes what's that robot's name? Wheels?
oh, you're talking about Squeaks.
Squeaks. She fixes Squeaks' arm with a Decepticon arm, right? And then there's another scene where it cuts back to him, and his arm is back to normal.
Eh,
Not a Decepticon arm. Not like all like huge and out of it, you know. And I was just like, wait, that's weird. That shouldn't be
here's
like
one for
that.
us that we discussed in length. Hot Rod didn't come with a toy. His toy didn't come with a gun. Now he's got a time gun.
Oh yeah, yeah,
What is
yeah.
this? Did they feel like, what, we need to have some kind of special effect a la Silver Surfer, Quicksilver, or some kind of slow mo scene for
Probably,
the audience to go, ooh, wasn't that cool? Quick,
probably.
give Hot Rod a time gun, which he used like I think 2-3 times in the movie, and it didn't really.
Yeah.
It's like what again?
Well, no, because he didn't want to kill anybody. I think that it's more of like a stun kind of
Yeah,
thing,
it's
but it
it's like
gives you some
slow
time
down
to get
people,
away.
and only within that bubble they're like slowed down, like time doesn't.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't know, it's so weird that.
All right, all right. So, I laughed super hard when Hot Rod
Oh
talked,
God.
and I was like, oh man, I could. When I saw the clip before going into the movies, I already knew. So when you posted up your picture of the ticket, I was like, oh man, here comes the rant.
Well, you know what?
And I laughed super hard, so I couldn't imagine like you were just like you were gonna be quiet in that theater. I'm pretty
The
sure.
only pro
As soon as he comes on the screen, and goes "Sutala," and you're like,
I
"What?"
didn't mind that they made him have a French accent. That's fine. You know what? And it's hilarious. And me and Wendell, let's just say this right now. So many people were like thinking that he had the accent because of me. It has nothing to do with that. Number one, I'm French Canadian. That's France Canadian, France French, which is like
Good job, good
yeah.
job, good save.
Almost saved myself there. You got a whole bunch of French Canadians pissed off right now.
That's more France.
That's France.
For
That's France French,
no,
which is a
not. I
whole
wouldn't say
different kind of
Canadian.
French. First of all, and the only problem that I had with it was just it was typical Michael Bay writing, which is it's like here's Vivian who lives in Britain or the UK. It's never really established, which is Prime Minister, so it's probably the UK. Um,
Well, it's England.
yeah. So
It's straight up
but
England.
but it's like here's her who lives in this European country. France is right fucking there, you know, and
Well,
it is. It's right fucking
well.
there.
I mean, okay. Yes, it's there, but you do have to cross a big body of water.
But here it is. He's talking broken English in a French accent, and the joke is, and it goes on for like 2 minutes. She doesn't understand what he's saying, and it's
Yeah.
oh I'm utrud hot utrud utrud. It's like oh god, like any French Canadian even would be like kind of going like come on man. And again, I'll admit it. I'll be the first one to admit it. I'm not like some pro French guy to begin with. But even me, I was kind of like, come on, that's stupid. You know what I mean? Like, is we're gonna go this route where this character has an accent so he can't pronounce something properly, and we're gonna make that a thing? Like I actually enjoyed Hot Rod from a visual standpoint. He was fun. I think that even with the accent, kind of in my opinion, being a silly thing, it was what it was. I like that at least he spoke at all. I think he had more lines than
Hmm.
most of the other characters, though. So,
Pretty
so
much.
like I'm happy with that, where he had more lines than Hound or Drift or Crosshairs or well Bumblebee, who tried to have lines,
Oh, poor
which is a
guy.
whole other thing.
Just gets wrecked all the time.
So like he had quite a few lines, all things considered. It's just that and I looked up the guy who voiced him because I actually was like, okay, he is a French guy from France, but I almost felt like he was a French guy from France being told, I need you to do a stereotypical English French accent. Where it's like, I'm French Canadian, I'm French by birth, but Daniel, I need you to do, I talk like this. I need to get the hot rod and the transformer and get the. That's
I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes Michael Bay just tells people just do you, and the people do
no,
them.
but the
Uh,
thing is that the
quick.
hot rod, the guy who was voicing, I think it starts with an O. His name, the guy who does Hot Rod's voice, he wasn't. He
Oh,
was
Omar C.
yeah, he was literally doing a if you Inspector Clouseau, if you will,
But
French accent.
just a little side note about this actor. He played Bishop in Days of Future Past.
Yes. But that's what I'm trying to say. Like instead of being like a French accent, it was more of a parody of it. It was just
Well, I don't know. Like again, maybe because I'm trying to think of the talking lines Bishop had in Days of Future
he
Past.
didn't have any. I think he had one maybe. So no,
Exactly.
but that's why I wasn't.
It
That's
wasn't
why I wasn't
much.
saying, "Hey, remember Day of the Future Past," because it wasn't that. So
You know what I mean? So I'm just like, maybe that's his accent, but he said like, just
I
do you or maybe play it up a bit
I
more. Because I mean, some people were like, oh man, Ken Watanabe was really kicking up his accent in Extinction, and it's like, maybe yes, maybe no.
You know what? I would have liked Hot Rod just as a black guy. You know what I mean? If that was your natural accent, then just go with that. It's just to me, I hate it when it's just you have to be a parody of it. And I could understand when it's '80s Transformers and that was a thing, but today it's like I don't like it when a character is characterized by an accent. It's okay when
So wait, what about Q? Oh wait, what about
who was
Enzo?
such an important character before they were killed off or written out. Same thing with Enzo. I don't give a shit about Enzo. He was written out. All those characters don't mean anything. Same thing. Crosshairs. Yeah, they kind of gave him the Irish accent, but we know him more as a trigger-happy guy from the 2-3 lines that we know. We're letting design and toy dictate more than what actually comes out of the character's mouth.
Same can be said with Drift as well.
Yeah, totally. Well, but
So
Drift,
so how so I guess Drift is just literally Snake Eyes from the first GI Joe movie, but he speaks now.
yeah, yeah.
So I guess if you're a ninja, you have to be able to balance yourself on your sword point, you know, and do like a handstand
And
on it. I
threat
think
and threat and
that's
well,
like
Drift also always threatened to kill people on the Autobots on more than one occasion. just when
Mm.
things got out of hand. But that's also because in that established canon, he was a Decepticon,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
again they only kind of mentioned in one line and stuff. But the point is that
I th-
the character of
I think kind of a disappointing note about Drift is that he's not a triple changer in this movie. At least not that I
yeah,
noticed.
and what was in
Oh well.
what,
He was in the fourth
what
one.
was interesting though was at least and I found it bizarre was that he got a repaint while
No,
his
not even a repaint. A completely different
yeah,
car.
while his contemporaries from the original movie, the movie from before,
Yeah.
Crosswise and Hound, didn't really get any kind of overhaul, and maybe they did on a minor level, but nothing too noticeable. Where Drift, he was completely red.
I'm trying to remember. Hold on a second. I'm trying to remember Crosshairs in his alt mode,
But what I
and I can't.
well here's
I don't remember him ever being a
he
car.
was, he was, but it was very brief, and it was just all great. But see, and what I found interesting in that is because I was going, okay, how come they didn't get color changes or major, alt mode changes and stuff, while on Drift did, and I was going like, why didn't they just leave him blue? Because there was not. It's not like they were introducing new characters to the movie that were Autobots that were primarily blue. If anything, Drift would have contrasted with Hot Rod a little bit with the touches of red and black now that they both shared. Although Drift was more primarily red. I found that
Hmm.
bizarre. I found that weird that why didn't they just leave Drift like that? Maybe they probably before they went to the drawing boards are like, look, we need to repaint some toys and put them out like unchanged.
Or maybe Bugatti was like, okay, you can't use our car anymore.
Yeah, maybe. But the
That
thing
could be
is
it.
that the Drift toy that we have is a red repaint of the original. So I don't know. It's me trying to figure out stuff, and it was something that I mentioned also in my previous review, where it's like, okay, we have Hot Rod, that his original form was the Citroen DS,
Hmm.
and then he becomes the Lamborghini, and then there's that other Nazi scene with Germany where he's the armored car or whatever. But then with the toys, we have Hot Rod being like a different kind of Lambo, but
Yeah.
that isn't that, like, where's the Citroen DS? Um, if they were going to do a different mold of Hot Rod for a different Lambo, why not just go with the Citroen DS? Maybe they didn't have the rights to it or whatever,
Probably not.
and maybe because they didn't want to have to think.
Because I know that car's pretty old.
And because he didn't
Pretty much.
transform into robot mode when he ever at any point when he was in that alt mode, so maybe they didn't want to have to think about it too much. But it was interesting. It was interesting that he had three alt modes like in the span of one movie. Um, I mean, he has that time gun thing, which is some kind of interesting play on giving him some kind of weapon. Although that's something
Hmm.
that really, to my knowledge, in Transformers fiction, only really was used with like Elita One and G1. There's not been many
Hmm.
Transformer characters that. Oh, and what do you call it? Vector Prime in Transformers Galaxy Force. But there was very few characters that had time manipulation as one of their abilities, and usually it came at a cost. So
Yeah.
it was just an interesting
I
take.
so one thing that really confused me was so I was like, oh, that's Steve Buscemi's voice, and I was like, that's probably Wreck-Gar. I'm looking at the credits here, and it's Day Trader. What? Who's that? Day Trader?
I don't know. I think there's probably some background characters because again, if
But you know what I'm talking about, right? The guy that gives him the voice box for
yeah,
Bumblebee.
he's the he reminds me of from Majora's Mask. He was like the guy.
Oh, okay, okay. The guy that has all the
Yeah,
masks.
like he's kind of like that merchant kind of dude.
Hmm.
So you know what? There's a lot of with every Transformer movie, there's a lot of stuff that if you pick it apart and focus on it on its own, like from the Transformer side of things, you see
Hmm.
interesting things that you almost wish were fleshed out more, like the tank guy, like the old
Right.
tank Transformer and stuff, where it's like, oh, you could just do a whole story on him. All the
Yeah.
things that we end up going, is more coming from just all that human stuff that just was not necessary, that just stretched. There was one human that I swear I almost felt it was like something out of. I almost felt like Michael Bay is one of those guys that doesn't believe global warming's a thing, because they made a scene in the movie where there's this guy who's an engineer and a scientist, and they're just
Oh, okay.
shitting on him the whole movie, where it's just like he's going like, "Hey guys, like this is science, this is this, and this is coming," and then you got like government officials going like, "Oh, that's nerd talk. You're a nerd."
Oh,
Like
yeah.
what are you talking about, nerd? Hey, what's this? Oh, look at this ship. I bet this ship would go really fast in space. And it's like, wow, that's like a government person like saying
Yeah.
saying like, no, there's nothing wrong. And then later in the movie, they then do it again, where this guy's like, oh, we're gonna do this, this, and this is gonna save the world. It's science. It works. Math. It works. And then it all doesn't work, and they're just shitting all over him. And then the final scene is just this guy with his hands buried in his face, going like, I'm all wrong. I'm a loser. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, what was the mini narrative of that character? Were they trying to say that science is for losers and geeks, and the army is the only way to save the world? Like,
Well, that's what most of his movies are
but
about.
it was so crazy. I was watching this going like, oh my god, is Michael Bay trying to say something here? Like, is he like trying to give a political message where it's like, you freaking nerds, like that's not going to save us? And there's two separate scenes where this character is like specifically ragged on for that. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow. Again, and it's a human scene, which if you would have completely removed it from the movie, it wouldn't have changed anything. Someone could have shot that piece of excess slag, no pun intended of the use of the name, that excess piece of slag of Cybertron accidentally, and it could have swung and hit the ignition key or whatever. It's like
Yeah.
it didn't have that human character didn't need to be in the movie at all to set that up, but that was yet another, if you probably added it up, 15 minutes of footage that didn't need to be there, of human stuff that could have been Optimus Prime or Nemesis Prime as he's called in this. Anything else of
Oh yeah, that's what I was surprised about too. That the fact it's like, all right, we're giving Optimus Prime a new title, Nemesis Prime. I'm like, oh, okay.
I'll
That's how
give
you're
him
gonna.
credit.
That's how you're
I
gonna
know
fit that in.
exactly
All right.
why they did it, but I'll give him credit that it's cool that they used it. I know why they did it, because they just need to use the name, because they haven't used it
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
while, so they need to slap it on a toy. So we're gonna get some kind of grayish, charcoal black repaint with purple eyes down the line, with some
Or
war
with a
paint.
slash on his
Yeah, with the
face.
war paint on the side of his face.
And what was confusing was that um, one of my friends assumed that Megatron was tempted or whatever, or infected by Quintessa because he had a red slash on his face.
He also had it on him, and one could assume that that might be the case. Maybe, number one, maybe she was rebuilt by him, and that's how we got the new body, and he has the war paint because she's being controlled by her, and that's why he was also fighting for the staff to get Quintessa's approval, if you will.
Favor, yeah, but we don't get any scene like
Totally,
that. So
totally,
it
because this,
and then on top of it, it wouldn't make sense because at the end of the fourth one, he just runs
like
away.
he always
While
does.
Optimus Prime goes to Cybertron, goes into space to Cybertron. So it's just like, how does that even make
No,
sense?
exactly, and
How does he even know that Contessa exists unless like did you say this at the end of the movie? He's like, we were brothers once, Prime, and and then he kicks him out. Well, and he says something to him and kicks him out. So I'm like, oh, cool. They're playing up the whole Orion Pax meets Megatron, the Gladiator
well,
thing.
and
You know,
especially what you mentioned, something that actually I didn't touch on, was how did Megatron even know of Quintessa's existence when Sentinel Prime brought Cybertron to Earth the first time around?
hmm
There was no mention of Quintessa and that being part of Megatron's plan. It was just Megatron kind of working for Sentinel Prime, if anything, and then before that,
right?
working for the Fallen. It always seems like he has someone else that he's answering to.
Yeah.
And then it's probably going to be Unicron the next time. But again, assuming that they handle him that like that. But it
hmm
seems like here's a Megatron working for what we think is the common good. There's this conflicting story, which on paper sounds like that's such a great twist. Wow, is maybe Cybertron the bad thing and Unicron is the good thing? But the execution was just so bad and so confusing. And again, it's like new viewers will not know what's going on. Old viewers of what's called veterans of just the movies will be confused because of everything they've been told up to this point, and
Yeah.
super veterans of Transformers will just only be able to piece this together with what they know from other fiction, trying to like, it's they're trying to make sense of it based on other stuff, and then you had like you mentioned the combiner team. So there's this character Inferno Kiss, and what was interesting is if you know the history of this toy's molds, it's a Transformers Prime mold that made Abominus. That was a combiner that they retooled this and that, the centerpiece and the head and whatever, to then make this new combiner that then was featured in the movie, which I'll give them credit for. That's because that's something that was interesting that they did, was they actually took like up to this point we have yet to have a Transformer movie character that was actually based off of an old mold from another line that appears in the movie. So that was something that was new. And again, the way that the Inferno Kiss toy is given to us is it comes with a Quintessa minifig, if you want to call it, a little PVC of her.
Oh, okay.
So like if you buy him that set, it'll come with her. So that's why he's also featured predominantly as one of her soldiers. And it's sad because I looked at that scene when they were using him, and I was kind of going like, you know what, that would have been a good time to introduce one of the many other established combiners in Transformer mythos. Could have made a Bruticus, could have made it anyone else, but I guess they just wanted to go for something more organic, and using those Transformers from Prime because they were monsters. It works better, which I could understand. But then why not call it Abominus? You could, and they called him Inferno Kiss by name in the movie. I was actually impressed that they did that.
Right.
But why not just keep it Abominus then? I always say I like to respect the lore. In the same way that, like, imagine if the X-Men movies introduced a character that shot I-beam lasers, but instead they called him Beam Shot. His name's Beam Shot, and he really likes Jean Grey, and he has a brother named Havoc, and his real name is Steve Summers. And it's just like, why not just, if you're gonna go that far, might as well just keep true to the lore. I guess maybe they want to just create a new IP, because now you have to register Inferno Kiss and I don't know. Like, that's something on a deeper level I'd like to sometimes understand. But we've already been talking about this, like, I don't know, for like an hour and 25 minutes or so.
Well, you're doubling it up. With me.
Well, no.
The only other quick thing I wanted to mention.
That's why I want to get like just your final opinions and everything. But yeah, get everything you want to get in.
Final thing is just I wanted to say shout out to Mark Ryan. He was the World War I tank and a lieutenant in, I guess, the background or something. That was
having Transformer dementia?
Yeah, having Transformers dementia, basically. So Mark Ryan, if you don't know, played Jetfire in Revenge of the Fallen, and he played Lockdown in...
Age of Extinction.
What was the fourth one? Age of Extinction. So, he's been a guy that's been throughout the whole movie, and, Michael Bay's one of those guys that, like, if you work with him, he's going to fit you in somewhere. He's going to hook you up. So I'm glad he's still there. So, but last thoughts on the movie. I don't know. I can't recommend this.
Nope.
It's too goddamn convoluted. Like even more so than usual.
I said that I
this.
don't hate it, but I don't like it either. That's what.
Yeah, I mean, like it's
and
fun,
the way that you ranked it was exactly the way I ranked it. Which is like, it's like you got the first 2007 movie is the best one, and then you got kind of like this like uneven tie between the third and this one, and then you got Age of Extinction and Revenge of the Fallen. Where it's just like
and also for me, whenever I find myself looking at my watch, I know.
Oh yeah, totally.
Nope. This is not a good
Only
movie.
once I looked at my phone just to see what time it was, but it was already when we were hitting like the 2-hour mark. It was just me going like, man, how long is this
come
movie?
on, wrap it up.
And the only thing that I just want to touch on, and I only learned about this after I did my review, the one good thing that came from this movie. I'm a big animal lover. I love dogs like crazy. Wendell knows this. Anyone who knows me really well knows how much I love dogs. I grew up with dogs. Growing up, I had like 5 or 6.
He literally acts like Homer Simpson around.
Oh,
dogs.
I love dogs.
Ooh, little Puffy Dale.
I love dogs.
I'm like, Daniel, stop
that. The one good thing that came of this movie was, and it's a credit to Michael Bay at least. But while they were
no dog humping jokes.
No. While they were filming when they were starting to do the principal photography for this movie, um, there was a local kennel that was getting rid of all their dogs, right? And all the dogs got adopted except one, and the dog that didn't get adopted was going to be put to sleep. And it was this perfectly normal, okay dog, but they didn't want to. They didn't want to, because it was a mix between a bull, not bull. I think it was like bull terrier and something. It just they didn't want to. No one wanted to adopt it because they were just like, oh, I don't want this dog, and they were going to put it to sleep. Michael Bay rescued it, and that was the dog that Anthony Hopkins' character was walking around with. He casted the dog in the movie, and because the dog was in the movie, it got adopted instantly.
Of course.
So some good came of it. And actually, if you're a Canadian that's going to see the Transformer movie in Cineplex or the whatever, what's Scotiabank's big chain? What is it part of? Is it
I want to
Cineplex?
say I want. It's not Famous Players.
Yeah.
I think it's Cineplex.
So, but if
Odeon.
you're a Canadian, the latest issue of the magazines that they give you for free in the
Entertainment?
yeah, entertainment that they give in the movie, pick up the issue that has Wonder Woman on the cover, and there's an article actually about Michael Bay saving the dog's life and casting it in the movie, and they show pictures of the dog and everything, and I was like, oh, that's actually kind of a nice story. Out of all of this, at least a dog's life was saved, and it got adopted.
Cineplex.
Cineplex? Okay. So
Yeah.
that's the one good thing. For me, that's something that's heartwarming to me, which is like, oh, a dog's life got saved and, it got adopted. So that was a good thing that came from the movie, at least. So
Exactly.
So that's, and I only found it out afterwards, because then after I did the review, I read the magazine. I was like, oh, man, I would have loved to talk about that. But so at least now I get an opportunity to. So anything else, Wendell?
Out
Out of 10,
really.
how do you rank it?
Oh, boy.
I gave it 6, just to give you an idea.
Yeah, I guess so.
6, and
Like I was gonna give it a hard 5, but I'm like, it's not. Like, I do like parts of it.
I give it.
I did like, oh, look, 2 female characters, and they're not trying super hard to be like, look, they're girls and they do stuff.
That's right, a girl that wants to play football. you know.
Like they're like, no, she was just like, I
Now you got
like that she makes the shot in polo, and the dude like comes up to her and is like, yo, I was super open. And it's like, yeah, but that's why I didn't pass you the ball. And he's like, oh, that's why you're still single. And she's like, wait, what did you say? And he's like, nothing. And he writes off. Like, everyone's super snide about it. I thought it was pretty hilarious. But,
Again, funny, but
funny,
I think
not showing
funny,
like,
but not
she's
something
really
for
smart.
Transformers. I don't know.
It was just weird because it's just like, okay, she's smart. She's snarky. Like, I gave her credit. I like.
When you said Lara Croft, I think that's the best way to describe it. You hit it right on the head.
Pretty much.
You hit it right on the
Pretty
head.
much.
It could have been Lara Croft. You could have said
that would have been cool. That would have been a bit much. Like, you're crossing over all these different, not themes, these franchises.
Yeah, we're already getting introduced
things.
characters that don't matter anyways. Might as well.
All right, so King Arthur. Yeah, that's part of Transformers content.
Yeah, now
it
was before.
It's free.
There was a season 2 episode, King Arthur, Decepticon in King Arthur's court, but that's a whole other story.
Okay, well then, fine. All right.
Yeah, but anyways.
Fine. But
so,
yeah, 6 out of 10.
and I gave it a 6 out of 10 because essentially, like I said before in my
6
review,
the
movie didn't make me angry like the last one did, and I think that the primary thing, and I'd just be repeating myself, but I want to just repeat it for you, was that this was the first time since, because obviously the first movie we didn't know what we were getting into, but since the second movie, since Revenge of the Fallen, it's the first time that we actually had trailers that didn't lie to us too much. Meaning, like, with Revenge of the Fallen, they're like, hey, look at Devastator, look how important he's gonna be. Hey, remember the second movie, look at Shockwave, look how important he's.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, third movie, Dinobot. So this one didn't really promise us anything. The only thing that it kind of promised us was we kind of thought Isabella was going to be a bigger deal, but when she wasn't, it's not like I was like, God damn it, I really wanted that human character to be the focal point of this movie. So when she wasn't, exactly. I was like, good, fuck it, good. Then let's hope everything else is happening. They didn't make any other promises. The trailers that I saw thus far were so focused on the humans that when it wasn't human stuff, I was kind of happy. So they didn't make any false promises. So that's the
Oh yeah. Also, Dinobot babies. What?
yeah. I was trying to figure that out. I was like,
I mean, okay, you already have
I want to give a shout.
skids,
I
right?
want to give a shout out to one of our listeners, David Cabal. He made a message. He mentioned to me. He's like, "Didn't they remind you of the Spark bots and the Spark?" And I was like, "Oh my God, that's perfect!" Because the Spark bots were these tiny G1 toys that had a flint that spit fire out of their mouths. And I was like, "Oh my
Mm,
God, that's true. That would have been perfect." So we have mini Dinobots. I don't know if Cade made them or not. They never really established that, but
they don't establish anything. They just show up.
it's just like, "Hey, mini
But
Grimlock."
but it's super weird because you already have your little.
The
Oh, this is supposed to be our BB-8 character that runs around with the girl. Like, you know what that character reminds me of? Mask.
Yes, everyone was saying that it's Scooter from GoBots mixed with T-Bob from Mask. It's
That's what
it's
that
literally
reminds. And it's like, but you already have your cute character. Why do you need Dinobot
it was
babies?
trying to be the R2D2 of this
Yeah,
of this
exactly. You already
continuity.
have that. And then Grimlock is there, and so is the Triceratops. So is
Slug they call him in this continuity. Yeah,
yeah. So is Slug. But then where's the other ones? Are they dead? Did they get caught? Are they still in China? We don't
he's
know.
at. That's the funny thing is the pterodactyl
Slug
was
comes
the
out
only
from the
one that didn't
ground.
return, which was weird.
Yeah, Slug comes out from the ground with
Grimlock.
Grimlock, and I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah. 6 out of 10. Any final thoughts?
Uh,
Would you recommend
I
it?
don't know what I watched. I don't know what I
Yeah,
watched.
no one did. All right. I guess
Confusing.
we'll call it.
If I had to put it
We'll
in
call
one
it at
word,
that.
confusing.
Final word, Wendell, before we cut it off.
Confusing.